So map number 1 here of a best of 3. And we're going to be getting in to some awfully fun stuff. Do you know why? Because the winner of this series will get themselves into WCS Challenger Season 2. Spawning in the top left-hand position as the blue Protoss player representing XMG, we have ToD. And his opponent who is doing some sneaky stuff, the orange Protoss player representing Team PK, we have GunGFuBaNDa, who is going for some form of a proxy, as his first pylon has been placed at his opponent's natural. ToD for now hasn't gone down to check, although being a 2-player spawn map, I would be in no way surprised to see him take a little look out for it. Just the one gateway at the moment. Interesting. No proxy 2 gate or anything like that, and ToD is already checking round every possible place. He will see it 100% now. Gonna get a good little peek. Pop, there we go. He's like, yep, that is a gateway, but only the one. So a proxy gate on its own. Gas coming down as well, because what ToD most likely expects from this is gonna be some kind of stalker, proxy stalker sort of build, because generally you'll only see the single gate if that is the intent. GunGFu adding in his own gas now, going to be adding in a pylon, and by going for this proxy, which has been so easily and readily scouted, he could be in a bit of a tough spot. The important thing for ToD is that he gets more stalkers out faster, which he should do because of a defender's advantage. This pylon slowly getting worked down. ToD gonna have to back away from it though, because chrono boost being spent on this zealot. ToD chrono boosting his own zealot out. He gets back to work straight away. This delays GunGFu. He has to pull back in order to save this pylon, because if the pylon goes down, ToD is in a miraculously amazing, spectacular position. So, still we wait. Double zealot out. ToD's second zealot nearly there is Cybercore. Finishing up. Back the pylon goes yet again to taking out that pylon. The 2 zealots waiting, patiently preparing to mount the defense, but back these 2 zealots come yet again to try and stop this pylon. ToD now getting out a stalker, and once he gets that stalker out, GunGFu unfortunately is going to be in a bit of a bad shape. He's got a stalker queued up of his own afterwards, but ToD is going to take the stalker lead by quite a large amount. He's also going to be looking to try and get a mothership core if he can sneak it through. He's also trying to get warp gate tech out as fast as he can, because that's potentially where he could run into some other problems. GunGFu pulling back his zealots. He wants to try and trap this stalker, but these first shots going through are critically important for ToD. But he sees the stalker now, backs away. He's still going to have 2 against 1, adding in 2 additional gateways so he can transition into a 4 gate if needed. But the defense going to be tough. 3 zealots versus 2. 2 stalkers against 1. A lot of very close fights coming through here. The stalker at the back being prioritized. A 3rd stalker coming through. ToD having to pull probes, which is actually resulting in him losing a couple already. He's going to defend this though quite nicely and take out the stalker as well. The counterattack could now be massive. If this gateway is depowered, ToD is going to be exceptionally confident that he has an advantage when it comes to production. He also should be pretty confident that he can potentially supply block his opponent here. He's going to be ahead in that warp gate tech upgrade. He already is by a fair amount. And GunGFu having to chrono boost like mad. Also trying to get blink through. Both players still on that 1 base, and ToD going on the aggressive. The trouble for ToD is that he doesn't have a probe out on the map, and that means that he has no proxy pylon. Cannot warp in aggressively despite his warp gate tech now finishing up. He cancelled the 4 gate, just going into some 3 gate pressure, so this isn't an all-in. This is ToD looking just to pressure and hopefully catch his opponent off guard, who likely won't have much to defend with. A photon overcharge is going to be available, and more than likely going to have to be used. Photon overcharge now triggered. The Stalker's going to try and get a probe kill or 2, but can't do it, so back on out. Probe now coming out here for ToD. Gonna be interesting to see where this buddy goes. Looks like he's putting a proxy pylon in a bit of an unusual position. He's adding in the Twilight Council. He might proxy Dark Shrine. Get those DTs out because there's no detection currently for GunGfu. GunGfu adding in those additional gates. Has still got one up here with the natural base. The ToD is just going to be taking out to make sure that there is no chance that it can get repowered and become another warp gate that could cause him some trouble. Dark Shrine gets started, proxied over to the right there. Incredibly unlikely that it will get scouted anytime soon. GunGfu's still sitting back, but he's adding in the robotics facility. It is incredibly important an observer or two gets out now. Otherwise, ToD just flat out wins. But this is good timing of the robotics facility, and GunGfu's still relatively safe. Ideally, ToD wants to be trying to get up a good defense against... Did he see... No, he didn't see the Twilight Council. Okay, small problem, and GunGfu is expanding off the back of this. So everything comes down to, are we going to be getting GunGfu with the adequate amounts of detection to prevent DTs? Proxy pylon now down for ToD. Waiting to get those Dark Templar in and dealing the damage. He's got his own robotics facility, just in case his opponent is DTing him back. It's a bit later, and overall the work count very similar. 28 to 26. And we're transitioning now into the PvP mid-game. Incredibly unlikely that we're going to see ToD deal exceptional amounts of damage, because there's already an observer out, and it's staying defensive. So due to this, the Dark Templar unlikely to get much damage done. Luckily for ToD, he only warped in 1. So isn't going to risk losing too much. See, he's getting attacked though. And it's actually just going to run straight by. GunGfu not moving his observer yet. Going to try and react to this, but... Ooh, in it goes. A couple of probes are going to get killed. Just ignoring the sentry damage. 3 kills for a Dark Templar, not ideal. But it does give ToD the worker lead. But where ToD is quite a long way behind is in his natural. And that means GunGfu going to be able to level that out yet again. Because of the fact that he's producing 2 probes at once, whereas ToD is only producing 1 at a time. So this is where things start getting a little bit more crazy. We've got the robotics bay on its way. So GunGfu transitioning up into Colossi. So late game, he's going to have a very scary army. In the mid game though, if there's a decent number of immortals coming out from ToD and he goes for some pressure, ToD is the one who's going to be able to take the head up fights. 2 or so Colossi can't deal with, say, like 4 immortals. But what can deal with those high immortal numbers are a lot of Colossi. I'm talking like 4+. They just shred through, deal so much splash damage. It's painful. Couple of Stalkers now moving up. They're going to get a little bit of damage down. ToD goes to the double force field, but of course Blink available for the orange Protoss player. Gets away safely. 8 workers killed by GunGfu, 3 by ToD. And GunGfu now ahead by 3 probes. A very close game as it stands. The tech advantage still sitting here though for GunGfu. Whereas ToD just got a slightly more active army now. Even though the army supply is slightly higher, it's because there's a Colossus there. So, gotta be aware of that. Stargate now coming down for our French Protoss player. Meanwhile, GunGfu, he's still just pumping nothing but Colossi. No sign of any kind of Stargate tech or anything else. He's got Blink though. He's got +1 nearly done. And ToD is a long way behind on these upgrades. Having to contend with a couple of Stalkers killing off the odd probes. But remember, on this map there's a nice little bit of ground here, so they can get out really fast. Very annoying to try and deal with, but ToD intercepting these units as they go through. Another Blink force and a couple of Stalkers are going to die. ToD even warping in 2 Stalkers, ready to intercept from the other side, but unfortunately, the smart route taken. GunGfu at 13 minutes, taking his 3rd base. Very brave move there. Taking a natural base was always a bit crazy in PvP, now it's taking the 3rd. That is the big bold step. However, the Colossus count may very well justify this. Soon to be a 2nd Colossus on the field, extended thermal lance on its way through. But ToD is getting down the fleet beacon. Anyone care to hazard a guess why? I'll tell you. Because that lovely little thing called a Tempest wrecks Colossi. Just annihilates them. However, GunGfu, he scouted it all. He knows about the fleet beacon, knows about the Stargate. It's just like, this is the way you want to play it. Okay then. Better be careful with my Colossi. Still, not too much else. Just some Stalkers sitting around, GunGfu waiting with his 2 Stalkers that he's been using quite aggressively. Wants to check to see if there's a 3rd base, and is going to see ToD has just started it. Nice little timing there. ToD, unfortunately, knows that his opponent's already got a Nexus up. It's running, it's mining, and his is a long way back. GunGfu, consistently throughout this game, has just been keeping an economic edge. 2 additional gates coming down now from GunGfu. He's already going up to a decent number of gateways. He's up at 6 already, going to be going up to 8. Meanwhile, ToD is sitting at 6 at the moment. And actually, never mind. ToD is the one sitting up at 7 gates, whereas GunGfu going up to those 8 gateways. Tempest production now starting for ToD. He's a long way behind in upgrades on the ground, and also not getting down his Templar archives. He's planning all of his money to be going into these Tempests. Actually, I take it back. He does have a Templar archives. I didn't see that go down. My bad. But yeah, this is predominantly about getting the Tempest, because the Tempest deal their air attack damage up against Colossi. So they do 80 damage per hit. That takes out a Colossus pretty darn quick. 4 shots from a Tempest, dead Colossus. It's that simple. So with that... Sorry, never mind. I said 4 shots. 3 shots from a Tempest at 80 damage a hit takes down a Colossus. If ToD gets down 3 Tempests, he one-shots them. Reveals the Tempest there, but takes out the probe. Already some shots going through. Does actually take 4 shots in order to kill it. To kill a Colossus. But still, being very, very careful. A couple of hallucinations coming through. That's a smart play. Prevents these Colossi from being able to do too much. But up ToD now moves to defend his 3rd. He has to keep this up. The Tempest, of which there are only 2, shelling away, but not actually focusing those Colossi. This is a bit of a problem. GunGfu takes out that Nexus, and therefore takes a big economic lead. If he gets these Tempests, it could be huge. A couple of shots going through. Not managing to hit those Colossi though. All of them staying alive. No Colossus have yet died on the side of GunGfu. However, ToD now sitting up at those 3 Tempests, but a big blink forward. They're very exposed. One gonna fall. That was a beautiful blink there by GunGfu. Able to shut down a lot of that damage output. ToD adding in the 2nd Stargate now, but he's trapped on 1 base, attempting to re-expand, whereas GunGfu happily sitting on 3 bases, mining effectively off all of them. And as a result, just getting a slightly better mineral income. And once he starts utilizing these gas, going to be getting a solid gas income. ToD not out of this game yet, but if he loses these Tempests, it's going to be rough for him. The Colossi engaging, a nice little time warp. Time warp being used by ToD as well, trying to slow each other down, trying to close up that distance. The Zealots making a lot of progress. Down go one of the Immortals, the 2nd one incredibly low. And the Tempest needs to get these shots through. 130 army supply for GunGfu. ToD at 70. It's not looking good for the French player as GunGfu comes crushing through, dealing so much damage. The Tempest trying to take out those Colossi. And ToD clearly not too impressed about that. GunGFuBaNDa takes game number 1 in this best of 3.